ayineti samarpayami. Jai Guru to everyone. Jai Guru to everyone. And let us now start the fourth chapter. Guruji calls this chapter Jnana Karma the supreme science of knowing God. Supreme science of knowing God. It's a very fascinating name Guruji is given for this chapter, which is interesting. Why? Because Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. ज्ञान से कर्म का संन्यास कैसे होता है? So we've all come here and we want to get free. Because if we don't get free, then we are going to continue like this for a very, very long time. Going on doing the same things. We'll either be born as a male or a female, but we'll continue to do the same things in different avatars. Sometimes as a singer, sometimes as a dancer, sometimes as a businessman, sometimes as an office goer. But ultimately it's in the world and it involves a lot of bondage. So once in a while, man realizes that there is some locha here, we have to get out of this place. I've done the same things. Somewhere subconscious gives cues to the ego. So that is when men start seeking liberation, that is called mumukshvatvam, liberation. So how do you do that? By understanding what is this original place that we've come from, what is the original goal that we all have fundamentally, and who is the original personality. Adi Purusha, Adi Atma. That is way. So that process of identifying and knowing him is called jnana. Also, the goal that is identified and achieved, that is also jnana, jnaya. You can say jnaya. So that or Brahma is jnaya, that which has to be learned about. So this continues throughout these two words, jnana and jnaya. So that is when the realization happens. So initially, Lord tells us in the third chapter how to do works, karma, and here he tells us how to be able to rise beyond karma, rise above karma. And that's the goal. And that is jnana. The capability to rise above karma is called jnana. So Lord will continue. So I'll request Gauriji, if you're around, if you can chant the first 4 shlokas for us.
Yes, yes. Jai Guru. ॐ श्रीपरमात्मने नमः अथ चतुर्थोऽध्यायः ज्ञानकर्मसन्न्यासयोगः श्रीभगवान् उवाच इमं विवस्वते योगं प्रोक्तवानहमव्ययम् विवस्वान्मनवे प्राह मनुरिक्ष्वाकवे ब्रवीत् एवं परम्परा प्राप्तम् इमं राजर्षयो विदुः सकाले नेह महता योगो नष्टः परन्तप स एवायं मया तेऽद्य योगः प्रोक्तः पुरातनः भक्तोऽसि मे सखा चेति रहस्यं ह्येतदुत्तमम् अर्जुन उवाच अपरं भवतो जन्म परं जन्म विवस्वतः कथमेतद्विजानीयाम् त्वमादौ प्रोक्तवानिति.
Thank you. These are simple shlokas. But these are the shlokas. In third chapter also, Lord kind of identified that he is very supreme, he is superior to the rest. When he says, Utsideyu me lokan, nakuryat karma chet aham. The whole world will fall into confusion if I don't work. So, but it is not very observable. Now in this, the built up is more heavy. Lord will actually start demonstrating in his own words that he is very supreme. He is the master. There's some very interesting refrain that Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada talks about in his Gita. He says, we are eternally actually servants of God. We are servants of God. You like it or not. A good way of saying it is you're a child of God. But what do you do to your child? Although you love your child, you'll say, remote leke aao, wo pyaj kaat do. You'll order your child around. So you are a little child of God. You can be ordered around. So that is humility. When we realize that we are actually subservient to a higher power, that is humility. In our ego consciousness, because we have attained nuclear bombs and missiles and all, Western world will not accept it. They will say, no, we are superior. But this is the truth. This is mentioned in Quran, it's mentioned in Torah, this is mentioned in Bible, this is mentioned in Gita. So it can't be wrong. Yeah. So we are, and we have to live in that subservience. Meaning, without the feeling of I own this world, including the body is not ours. Everything is borrowed. Okay. So that's one way of looking at it. And that comes out in this chapter very nicely. So, but having said that, God is not a taskmaster. He's more a loving father or a loving mother. So, or a loving beloved. To that extent, one can be in freedom of thought and no fear. No fear. So, what does Lord say here? Imam vivasvate pro yogam. This Vivasvan is the name of a king, ancient king. It's his name is present. They say he's the present Prajapati of this. He's a present Manu of this creation, who started everything, and then he became the light-giving father. So Vivasvan was the fundamental originator of this kala. Yogam proktavan, taught aham avyayam. Avyaya word, you've heard it so many times, you should know it. Avyaya, imperishable, eternal, like that. Avyayam. Vivasvan manave praha. Vivasvan told it to Manu. That's how the word manava comes, which is manushya or man, human. So because Manu was the fundamental father. Praha, he told, Manu Ikshvakave Abravit. Abravit again spoke, told, instructed. Manu told it to Ikshvaku. Ikshvaku is supposed to be an ancient king, is supposed to be the ancestor of Rama. So it looks like we're talking about the present world cycle, descending arc, maybe a little before that. We don't know the time frame, Bhagwan doesn't mention. Then Lord says, what does he talk about? He talks about a yoga. Which yoga he doesn't mention. So generally people will say, who are explaining, it is about Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. So Lord is talking about it. But the thing is, when you go to the end of the chapter, you realize Bhagwan doesn't mention one yoga. So essentially, he's talking, what Paramahansa Yogananda says is, Lord is mentioning the yoga called the Royal Highway, Raja Vidya, Raja Yoga. Later on, he names it. So what is the Raja Vidya, Raja Yoga? The royal path that you will take to ascend to God. And that Paramahansa Yogananda says is only one highway, and that is your spinal cord. Whoever travels up the spinal cord, that person goes to Brahma. So the Kundalini rises, goes to the Kutastha, that is Samadhi, that is going to God, establishing yourself in God. Evam yo vetti tattvataha. Tattvata, we discussed yesterday's essence. So knowing God in essence is uniting with Him in the Ajna Chakra. So Brahma, Lord Krishna keeps talking about this. So that makes sense because there are so many techniques mentioned towards the end, fourth chapter, fifth chapter. Again, he keeps on talking about what is that path. Royal path is a spine. So what you do, even if you're chanting God's name, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, and 1,08,000 times a day, you will travel up that channel itself. The prana will start moving naturally up that path. You're doing Sri Vidya practice, it will move up that path. If you're doing namaz 5 times very sincerely, you're not able to forget God throughout your life, 12, 14, 28, 48 years, that the same energy will move. The same energy will move up the path. So that is the royal path, which makes logical sense, right? You will not find this anywhere except in God of Search now. That's fascinating. Evam param. So that is the yoga Lord is talking about. Meaning basically come back home through the spine. Evam parampara praptam. This parampara is tradition. Praptam, you have received. Imam, this whatever he's talking about, that is Rajarshayoho. The Rajarshis knew about it. Then there are two definitions to Rajarshi. Some people say that they were kings who were very, very wise and who were looking for seekers after moksha or mumukshus. Some, some people explain Rajarshis as any person who has attained that state of traveling the royal path, meaning a Vasishta Muni, a Vyasa Muni, Bhrigu all these are Rajarshis because they have attained, which also makes sense. Why? Because there are so many stories in the Puranas where people try to, there are supposed to be levels of attainment of God, Rajarshi, Maharshi, Brahmarshi, like that. Devarshi Narad, Brahmarshi, Rajarshi. So this is a kind of a designation. Viduhu, understood or known, coming from the word knowledge. Sa kale neha, saha, that in kala, in time, iha, in this world, mahata, this great yoga, nashta, got lost, parantapa. This yoga of how to travel up the spine got lost. Many people, Rajashis, knew about it. Then Lord says, Sa evayam, Sa eva ayam. Evayam, if you break it, Saha. That Eva is definitely I am this. Maya te adya yoga prokta. Adya is today. So Lord is te adya yoga prokta puratana. Te is to you. So this same yoga to you, prokta, I am telling you, is ancient Puratana yoga. Bhakta asi, you are my bhakta, mine, sakha, friend also. Cha, iti, also, iti rahasyam, this is a secret. And he, etat uttamam. Definitely, etat, this is uttam. Uttam is very great, very powerful, very supreme. So I'm going to tell you this. So Arjuna says, Arjuna again, a very mundane question. Arjuna asks, he says, Aparam bhavato janma, param janma vivasvata. When Vyasa Maharshi put in this question, I doubt Arjuna did ask these questions. But having said that, we don't know really if he did. Because it doesn't look like Arjuna would have asked this simple question, Sita pragnasya ka bhasha kim prabhasheta vijdatikam. All those things, maybe Bhagavan Vedvyas put those questions. Why? Because it's your and my question, you see. These are very simple questions. Because a normal man who's reading this, who doesn't know who's Krishna, will obviously ask, who's Krishna? He's just born. Where Vivaswan is so old. Same question. Aparam bhavato janma. Aparam is later. Param is before, supreme or highest. So that way, param becomes a verb to signify before, after, or before everything. Aparam later, bhavataha, bhava is to become, your janma. You were born later. Param janma vivasvata. First born was vivasvata. Katam etad. How this vijani ayam, vijaniyam. So how will I know? Tvam adav. Adya is today. Adav is in the beginning. Dvamyu, Proktavan, you spoke about this. Iti, thus. How do I know that you did really speak about this? So I request now Gauriti to chant from 5 to 10, 5 to 8. Can you chant it?
Yes, Jai Guru. श्रीभगवानुवाच बहुनि मे व्यतीतानि जन्मानि तव चार्जुन तान्यहं वेद सर्वाणि न त्वं वेत्थ परन्तप अजोऽपि सन्नव्ययात्मा भूतानामीश्वरोऽपि सन् प्रकृतिं स्वामधिष्ठाय सम्भवाम्यात्ममायया यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानमधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम् परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे.
Thank you, Ji. These chantings, when I asked Didi, these are not random. This essentially these four shlokas. If somebody is marked, it would be nice. But essentially, these shlokas are kind of similar in topic. That's why I was asking Didi to chant like 4, 5, 7, like that. So these are essentially same topics. So now starts Lord talks. Lord speaks. Arjuna asks, "You were born later. What are you saying? You taught this to Vivaswan was the progenitor, or the fundamental Prajapati of all present mankind." That actually is very shocking, because if you look at the Hindu time scales, it's very mind boggling. The 14 Manvantaras, which happen in 100 years of Brahma's life, it's really mind boggling, which is true because to some extent, there's some interesting information I'll give you, which is a story. There's a Russian lady called Madame Blavatsky. This lady, she's very famous in the world, Western world. She's a Russian lady, somewhere in the 18th century, 18, whatever. Much, not the contemporary of Paramahansa Yogananda, before. Maybe Swami Vivekananda, Ramakrishna Paramahansa's contemporary, but in Russia. So she ran away from Russia for whatever reason, because she was getting married. She didn't want to get married. And she went off, reached the Himalayas. That is the connection from the north, right? So she reached, and she says she met the Himalayan masters. She lived and learned for many years there, and she met many of the immortal masters. She also visited Shambhala, she says. This was in the 18th century. Then she went back to the Western world and told the world about ancient creation of humanity. And that's how the Theosophical Society, the Theosophist movement, later on Annie Besant, Madame Blavatsky, and all the Annie Besant is a follower of Madame Blavatsky. So she gave a kind of philosophy where she says there are root races, fundamental root races. Like every planet has 7 root races. Now we don't know why 7 root races. Each root race has four parts. And each root race looks seems in a specific manner. Like we are the 4th root race's 5th generation human beings. That means 3 root races are over, and the numbers are crazy. Like each root race was like 1 million years or something, 10 lakh years, or maybe more. And she goes on to say, even with dinosaurs, 183 million years back, or 60, the most recent dinosaur, 60 million years back. Even during that time, humans existed, they coexisted. And just like we had megafauna, we had megasapiens. She says the beings were so large, as big as the dinosaur, or at least 3/4 of the dinosaur. Just like dinosaurs were like elephants, but the humans could easily kill them. But the humans, many of them lived in peace with these beings. They were in their forests. Like today, tiger is there. You go to the forest, you see safari, come back. It's not going to eat you. It eats its deer. Like that, we were coexisting. Fascinating information. So now this is corroborated by Jains also. The Jain says humanity was like 50 feet, 40 feet. Now this again may sound hearsay, but this refrain is there in the Mahabharata also. There's a story where I'm talking about Aparam Bhavato Janma, regarding that ancientness of humanity. There is a king called Raivataka. You know the story, Kardama Muni. He has a daughter millions of years back. This happened on earth. He was ruling India, and his daughter was so beautiful, so brilliant. So he went to Brahmaloka asking for a var. Then they waited for just about a few minutes outside because Brahma was busy doing something else. Then when they went in, Brahma said, "You've been waiting for how long?" He said, "Few minutes." He said, "Are you crazy? You come so far and you waited. That means on earth, your kingdom is over. You go back, you'll have nothing." So when he comes back here, as Brahma predicted, then Brahma said, "Okay, good. Now don't worry. I'll make some changes. Your new var is already born. He is in he's in a place called Vrindavan, and his name is Balaram. He's more whitish in color. He's a incarnation of Adishesha. So he comes back. her name is Revati, daughter. And this sea, Krishna and Balarama playing. Krishna and Balarama of Dwapara Yuga were about 12 to 14 feet, is what people think. And they were playing in Vrindavan. And Raivataka Muni, along with Revati, appear there. And they, Balaram climbs onto the hand of Revati, his future wife. That small Balaram was, and how massive Balaram was. And this big Revati was, Revataka Muni. So pahad jaise the these people. This is mentioned in the Mahabharata. And then Krishna and Balaram ask, who are you? You look like humans, but you're so massive. You're not from here. Then they say, no, we are from here, but from an ancient time, we got misplaced because we did some time travel. We went off without considering that in space travel, time moves faster on Earth. So here we are. So he says, okay, then you're supposed to be the husband. And then she makes herself smaller than Balram, and then they get married. So that's how it is. Revati is Balram's wife. You can Google this. So that old humanity is that old. Okay. Bhagavan now says, Bahuni me vyatitani. Vyatita means spent already, gone. Bahuni, multiple, many, me, mine. Vyatitani janmani. Many janmas have gone mine. Tava, yours also cha Arjuna. Tava cha Arjuna. Tani aham veda. All these I know. Sarvani, all of them. Natvam vetta. Tvam, you don't know. Parantapa, you don't know. Then Lord says, then God goes into that Pratyagatma state. He says, Ajaha, I am unborn. Api, son. I am being unborn also. Avyaya Atma, I am an imperishable being. Bhutanam Ishvara api san. I am the master of all the beings. Prakritim swam adishthaya. I am only situated inside this Prakriti. Sambhavami. Sambhavami also. I am situated, this Prakriti is also created by me, and I myself manifest in this same Prakriti, which is also me, Atma Maya, through some kind of Maya, which is a kind of a layer of delusion. Some kind of game, tricks. I only create the earth, and I only come as beings. I am the creator of the beings, I'm the master of the beings. I also come and appear once in a while. That's in amongst these beings, and he is avatar. And he says, Lord says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanihi bhavati bharata. Whenever, definitely dharma, glanihi, starts declining or starts reducing, bhavati becomes bharata. Abhyutanam, increases adharma. Adharma starts increasing. Tata, atmanam srijami aham. I take form in this creation. Srijami is I come out, or ja, the word, whenever there's a ja, that's creation or janam. I take my form, I manifest myself. So this goes on to say that Lord is not talking only about himself. He may come into creation in any form. Paramahansa Yogananda is also an avatar. Shirdi Sai Baba is also an avatar. Jesus Christ is also an avatar. So he doesn't say Krishna only is avatar here. He doesn't use his word. He keeps addressing himself as Vasudeva. So who's talking? So Brahma is talking to this body. So Krishna is also avatar. All are avatars. Then Lord says, Paritranaya sadhunam. Paritrayana is to protect sadhus, meek and gentle, humble, sweet people, silent, quiet, and who don't break laws and don't make mistakes. Righteous people. Vinashaya cha dushkritam. Dushkrita, bad people. To vinasha, kill them, destroy them. Dharma samstapana arthaya. Why does he come? To samstapana of dharma. Sambhavami. Again, I create myself, or I appear. Yuge. From one yuga to the other. In every yuga. Didi, can you now chant from chapter shloka number 9 to 12?
Yes. Jai Guru. जन्म कर्म च मे दिव्यम् एवं यो वेत्ति तत्त्वतः त्यक्त्वा देहं पुनर्जन्म नैति मामेति सोऽर्जुन वीतरागभयक्रोधा मन्मया मामुपाश्रिताः बहवो ज्ञानतपसा पूता मद्भावमागताः ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तांस्तथैव भजाम्यहम् मम वर्त्मानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः काङ्क्षन्तः कर्मणां सिद्धिं यजन्त इह देवताः क्षिप्रं हि मानुषे लोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा।
Thank you. Lord now talks about, how who he is, in these few shlokas, 9 to 12. So he talks about knowing him in tattva again. Again, tattva word comes. That is essence. We discussed this. This word is very important. Knowing something outwardly, form, like it's jati, desha, kala, lakshana. This is an external marks. So this is what is mentioned in the Yoga Sutra. They say jati, like where he is born, what's the place, the time. No, that's jati, details. Desha, space, place, and all that. Okay, Kala is the time. Lakshana is his personality marks, how tall he is, how fair he is, how much is educated. All this is external. But Tattva is internal essence. We really don't know a person. We really don't know a person ever. Because the Jada, the root of the person is in Brahma. How long can you trace him? To what lives can you trace a person? What you think is your wife, your husband, your child is actually Brahma, who has gone through so many layers and layers and layers of mysterious existences in a million spheres. Do you even know what the subconscious possesses? The experiences, the joys and sorrows. And it manifests in the present form. So I know you. No, you don't know anybody. You don't know yourself. That's very interesting. And to know yourself, you need to know the essence. And that is how we need to unite with Brahma. It is not only knowing Krishna was this tall, fair, handsome. That is an external appearance. The essence is Brahma inside that. Pure Brahma, without layers. The Lord that says, how do you know him? Janma karma. My janma, my birth and my activities, chame divyam. They are very divine. Whenever I come, I manifest something which is very unique, which is not there in other beings. You observe the beings. Krishna and all the beings, all the avatars manifest something unique. They're miracles, they're siddhis, they're all very powerful siddhis. They rise the dead. That's supposed to be the highest power that anybody can possess, raising the dead. So Lord here says, Janma karma cha me divyam. These are divine. Evam ya veti tattvataha. Again, veti, know it in essence. Now, there are two ways to know it in essence. One is through jnana, which is doing a kind of internal sacrifice or internal activity, which is meditation, dhyana. Then there is an external way of knowing, and that is bhakti. You constantly read, you constantly weep for God, you constantly chant His name, you constantly try to identify what it is. But finally, you will go into silence. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however much he would go into Paravasha state, seen those images, water going down and Lord Krishna, he would go. Finally, he would enter Samadhi. He enters the royal path. His prana moves up the spine. So yogis do it silently, somewhere sitting in a Himalaya or somewhere. And these people, the bhaktas do it, living in the world, part of the world, and singing God's name. Both are okay. So you can learn about my janma and karma and become veti tattvataha in both ways. Anyways, tyaktva deham punah janma na eti mam saha Arjuna. So when you leave your body, deham punaha janma na eti. You will not take on a new janma if you know me in tattva. Mam eti sa Arjuna. Eti, like this if you know me. Like this if you know me. Knowing his essence. That is union with him. internal union. It can happen in any way: puja, puraskar, pravachan, chanting, even listening to the Gita. Lord says, in the last chapter, in between also he mentions it. He says, Shraddhavan anasuyanto shrunuyadapiyo naraha. You don't understand anything. You just listen or you just chant it. Not with the mind roaming here. You don't understand the Sanskrit. It has the power to give you tyaga, vairagya. Just practice this. Just take up one Gita, tell anybody who's suffering depression, mental problems, or physical problems also for that matter. Just ask that person to just chant the Gita. Just chant, 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 chant without understanding the meaning. A person will improve. His health will become all right. It's very fascinating. And by chanting further, he'll attain Paramatattva also. That is how Lord says we have to become one. The Tyaga will come. That's what Ramakrishna Paramahansa says in the Gospels. He says, don't do anything, no? Just take Bhagavad Nama. Just take the Bhagavad Nama. That itself is enough. All your life, waking, sleeping, dreaming, whatever, everything will fall off. And he says, especially the Gita is Tyaga. You read the Gita. If you're focusing, even listening, talking, and you go back and chant this or read this, you will feel like renouncing the world. You will not feel attached to anything external. That's the power of Gita. Then Lord says, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha Manmaya Mamupashrita. So this man, essentially by knowing my Janma, Karma, and all these things, which is Divya, divine, he will also very soon become free from Raga, attachment, Bhaya, fear, Krodha, anger, which anxiety, all this troubles us in this world, right? Manmaya, absorbed in me. Mam upashrita. Then he'll start surrendering to me. Or you have to surrender. You can take it either way. Mam upashrita. Bahava jnana tapasa. Many such beings, many persons like that, through such kind of divine wisdom, jnana, or such kind of tapasya, such purification that has happened, Puta became purified, mat bhavam agataha. They unite with me. They become one with me. They become free. Then Lord says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante. Whoever mam me prapadyante is sharanagati. Bow down is called prapanna, prapadyante, surrenders to me. Tan tata eva bhajami aham. So bhajami is actually worship him. Literally, Lord also will worship you. Tan, them, tata eva aham, bhajami aham. I also worship them. He explains this in the 6th chapter also. You look to me, I'll look to you. You surrender to me, I'll surrender to you. You know what? Very fascinating. Today I was meditating. I want to share it with you all. So this thought came to me that everything is reciprocal. When you think of Brahma, Brahma is thinking of you. When you are talking about Brahma, Brahma is talking about you there. So if we can talk about Brahma and think about Brahma all the time, he is talking and thinking about us. He says this very clearly, right? Tan tata evam bhajami aham. I'm also worshipping them. Basically, people will say I am giving it back, but bhajami essentially means bhajan karna. The Lord is thinking of us also. Mama vartma anuvartante. So my path, anuvartante. If you follow manushya, men, partha, sarvasha. So in some way or the other, whoever says the name of God, in whatever form we call him, Allah, Jehovah, God, whatever we call Narayana, Shiva, you are following me, the Brahman. If the thought is on Brahman, he knows about it. So it doesn't matter what we call him. We call him Appa, Abba, Abu, Dad, Daddy, father, anything, it's the father only, right? Okay. 100 names. Imagine what the aliens would be calling. In Sirius B or, Arcturians or the Pleiadians, they'll have their own names, their own languages. Then God still listens. So Lord says, this is about human beings. Kankshanta karmanam siddhi. Akanksha Kanksha, desiring. Karmanam siddhi. Whatever works you're doing, you're going to office, you're doing something, you want some result. Siddhim. Yajante iha devataha. Because there's a rule, no? If you worship the devatas, you'll get what you want. Iha, in this world, devata, the people worship. Now, devata can be some ideal also. It can be some
Okay, thank you.
ideal. It can be some ideal also. Kshipram is very fast. He manushe loke. In this world, siddhi bhavati karmaja. In this world, ja is to be born. Remember the word siddhi bhavati karmaja. You'll get, if you do some karma, from that you'll get a siddhi very fast. You go to office, you get your salary on time. You cook, you can eat. You work hard, you'll become rich. It's very fast in this world, he says. Lord says here. Okay. Didi, can you read again now? 13 to rather chant from 13 to 13th to 15th, only 3, 4, 15th to 13th to 15th.
Okay. Thank you. Jai Guru. चातुर्वर्ण्यं मया सृष्टं गुणकर्मविभागशः तस्य कर्तारमपि मां विद्यकर्तारमव्ययम् न मां कर्माणि लिम्पन्ति न मे कर्मफले स्पृहा इति मां योऽभिजानाति कर्मभिर्न स बध्यते एवं ज्ञात्वा कृतं कर्म पूर्वैरपि मुमुक्षुभिः कुरु कर्मैव तस्मात् त्वं पूर्वैः पूर्वतरं कृतम्.
Thank you, Dee. How does God behave in this world? What did He create? He says. How He created, structured this world. There has to be some plan, right? He's not simply doing everything. Everything is planned. Even that no, 8, 9 planets, however many scientists are confused today, whether it is 7 or 8 or 9. So those 9 planets going around the sun is also a plan. There's billions of galaxies, stars in the galaxy, and the billions of galaxies in this universe, and the billions of universe in this cosmos, in this physical universe, is also a plan. Everything is a plan. Very brilliant. And it's not like a limited intellect like ours. Our intellect would be amoeba or lesser than amoeba compared to Brahma's intellect. Or if that is an intellect, if it has a word. So you will come to know the greatness as it goes further. Lord says, Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishta. There are 4 types of varnas, categories. Varnas, you can say, as colors, or you can say it's a kind of a distinction, kind of a watertight compartments. Shrishtam, Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. Based on what? Based on your guna, internal guna, and the works that you can do in this world. Vibhagashaha. So divisions. Tasya kartaram api mam. So I created this. I am the karta with the akartaram api. With the no, I am still akartara. I didn't do anything. This is very confusing, right? It is like going to quantum physics. You've heard of quantum physics? Quantum physics is the fundamental physics which studies the fundamental particles. Even when you break open the atom, those small tiny particles, there are billions, I believe in that. So we can't even talk about what types of particles are there. So they sometimes act as a particle, and sometimes they act as a consciousness. They act as a energy. So we don't know what it is. The quantum physics is still struggling to put some mathematical equations to make them behave in a specific manner. They cannot. So Brahma is like that. I am a kartara, I am akartara. I am the Ishvara, I am the Bhuta. I am the Prakriti, I am Brahma. So for that, we have to break open the constructs of the human mind and travel beyond. And still will not understand intellectually. Paramahansa Yogananda explains this very interestingly. He says, what are you using to identify or learn about Prakriti or Brahma? You're using 4 things. Mana, Buddhi, Aham, Chitta. All externalized senses. Then the Chitta, memories of your past life or present life. That's your Chitta. That's it. Attached with some reactions, that's feelings. And then you have your intellect. What you have studied is your intellect in this life and maybe earlier lives. So that gives a big intellect. So what are you going to do? Because you got all this from here only. Maybe few lives or this life, you got all this from here only. How are you going to study something or learn about something which is beyond all this? You understand? Just a minute. So, so, so this is very interesting about Brahma. Sorry about that. Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam. So Brahmana Kshatriya Vaishya Shudra I created. Based on what? Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. Based on the gunas, internal guna of a person and karma vibhaga. What work he will be capable of doing based on the guna. Tasya kartaram apima vidhi akartaram apima. Now this is very interesting. This we cannot take as by birth. Brahmana is never by birth. Paramahansa Yogananda and all these great saints like Vivekananda, Swami Rama and all, who are essentially who are tattvavits. Tattvavit is a person who knows Brahma. They have explained caste very interestingly. They say nature has sattva, rajas, and tamas gunas, and people are essentially born with spiritual intelligence, or they have protective intelligence showing intense rajasic energy. So they want to be sportsmen, they want to constantly work. And you'll see rajasic children, they're very calm. They'll be natural leaders from childhood. Two people are fighting, they'll go and separate them. They will not take sides. Vaishya will take a side. But a rajasic person like high rajas guna with combined with sattva will be a raja. He will be having protective energies, a kshatriya, and then who naturally organize their things neatly, the desk and everything in your school. They'll be very good before the teacher comes, clean the board, everything is neatly kept, plan everything very meticulously. They can work in business, orderly ways. They are the Vaishyas. You can observe your children. What amount of what do they possess? Everyone has this. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas is there in everyone. So each person has little bit of Brahman, which little bit of Kshatriya guna, little bit of Vaishya guna, and little bit of labor guna, which is motion. Constant action is required for them. Okay, excessive sense requirements like excessive desire for pleasure seekingness, food, roti kapada makan is very strong, lower instincts. And then they also have intense ability to work. Okay, so this is all important for the world. Tarama goes on to explain something very fascinating. She says, she gives a kind of ratio. She says 1:2:3:4. And that is the ratio in this world of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. This ratio changes as you go higher up. So in the higher sattvic worlds, you'll have 4:3:2:1. Like that. So there might be extremely sattvic worlds also where there's only 4:0:0:0. So, and this is true, which is why we will definitely find a person who's interested in Brahma, not so worried about earning tremendous amount of money, going out there in the world and having a niche for yourself in the corporate world, becoming a vice president of a company. But then the world may push you into that. But that person who has a Brahma tendency will be interested in meditation, yoga, spirituality. When you walk into places like SVyasa, Yoga Satsang Society, Ramakrishna Mutt in Dakshineshwar, you will find umpteen like that. They might be in the world also sometimes. They'll be good in the world also. Now, a Kshatriya will typically be the helm of many affairs. He'll be the top of the affairs. Brahmanas and Kshatriyas have similar qualities because it's a mixture of sattva and rajas. They'll be heading institutions. They will be, active, but may not be physically very active. Some of them may be having high energy and physically active, also like sports people, Virat Kohli. Typical Kshatriya behavior you can see also, Kshatriya behavior. You will also see, Sattvic Rajasic Brahmins. You'll see Sattvic Kshatriyas. Like a person might be in, like you look at an army officer, for example, I can think of that example. He might be a very sattvic person internally. Physical energy may not be so strong. So he will fall into the Satvik Kshatriya category. He may be heading a platoon. He might be a major general, whatever. Okay, so that's how you can see it from childhood. If you follow this, and this is a sacrosanct rule, it's required for construction, building the world. So that's how it is. Now, why I spoke so much is because people do ask that. This is a typical question. You learn in the Gita, Krishna advocates casteism. Please speak to them that this is truth. It's there in the animal world. It is there in the plant kingdom also. There is the grass will not go up and say, "Look, I am insignificant. I should have been a tree." A tree will, be cut down. Grass may not be cut down in the wilderness. It grows eternally. So the each one has in the Ayurveda says. Um, I don't remember the shloka right now. What it basically says is there's not a single plant in this world which is not an aushadha. So na aushadhi something. So now that is very fascinating. So every person is important. Namam karmani limpanti. No karma attaches itself to me. Name karma phale spriha. I'm not bothered what comes as a result for me. Spriha is attachment. Iti mam yo abhijanati. If you know these things about me, abhijanati, karmar birna sabadyate. You will also not be bound. Badya is to be bound to karmas. It's very fascinating, isn't it? Because to know Brahma like this takes a lot of effort. It's not easy. Understanding the Gita intellectually is very easy. Even if we attain Siddhi in one of the shlokas, hmm, it's you are Brahma Tattva. You are one with Brahma Tattva. Fascinating. Evam jnatva kritam karma. Trying to understand all this, knowing this, kritam karma. That is how you do your karma. That is why jnana karma sannyasa yoga. When you know this and do your work. Purvairapi mumukshubhi. Purva, many ancient times back, mumukshus were there. Kings desired freedom. Kuru karmam, purvai purvataram kritam. So old ancient people used to do this. This was a norm in ancient times, looking for Brahma, finding him. Whether you're a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, it doesn't matter. Brahma is your goal. And that goal is what you are supposed to do, and that is whom you are supposed to please, not for yourself. Somewhere it got lost. That's why yogo nashta parantapa. That thought process is gone. That ideology is lost today. And that is why the world is suffering. And that is why we need the Gita. We need everything coming back. This ideology should set in. Didi, can you chant from 16th to 21? We finished that.
Okay, Jai Guru. किं कर्म किमकर्मेति कवयोऽप्यत्र मोहिताः तत्ते कर्म प्रवक्ष्यामि यज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात् कर्मणो ह्यपि बोद्धव्यं च विकर्मणः अकर्मणश्च बोद्धव्यं गहना कर्मणो गतिः कर्मण्यकर्म यः पश्येत् अकर्मणि च कर्म यः स बुद्धिमान् मनुष्येषु स युक्तः कृत्स्नकर्मकृत् यस्य सर्वे समारम्भाः कामसङ्कल्पवर्जिताः ज्ञानाग्निदग्धकर्माणं तमाहुः पण्डितं बुधाः त्यक्त्वा कर्मफलासङ्गं नित्यतृप्तो निराश्रयः कर्मण्यभिप्रवृत्तोऽपि नैव किञ्चित् करोति सः. Till here only, no?
22, one more. Didi.
22, 20. Yeah. Another two slokas.
Yes.
निराशीर्यत चित्तात्मा त्यक्त सर्वपरिग्रहः शारीरं केवलं कर्म कुर्वन्नाप्नोति किल्बिषम् यदृच्छालाभसन्तुष्टो द्वन्द्वातीतो विमत्सरः समः सिद्धावसिद्धौ च त्वापि न निबध्यते. Okay.
Thank you, Dee. Now, these from 16 to 22 in the fourth chapter are very, very difficult to understand. Yesterday, I was mentioning, that it is a little confusing. You may get confused. It's okay. Doesn't matter. If you're doing it for the first time, second time also, you'll get confused. 10th time also, you'll get confused. Until you realize it within yourself. But that doesn't matter. I'm not trying to scare you. Let's look at the top level meaning of this, okay? So Lord says here, he says initially itself, you're confused in the 16th. This is Anupmadi's question yesterday. Is she there? Anupmadi, are you there? Here.
Yeah, Didi.
This is your question Bhagwan is asking today, see. So you got intuition of what Bhagwan is saying. So he says, Kim karma, kima akarma, iti kavayo api atra mohita. What I should do, what I should not do. Even wise people are deluded, confused. Rama was confused. Yudhishthira was confused. Draupadi was confused. They're kavayas. They are kavis, wise people. They have educated themselves. So they're all prajapatis born on earth. Devas, Devis, direct birth. Ayonijas. Draupadi was Ayonija. What does Ayonija mean? One who comes without using a human womb. You know why some Devis take birth like that. Sita was Ayonija. Why? Because if they come through a human womb, that will entail karma. So they take other routes to come. Fire, through Putrakamishti Yajnas or through water, they appear. Lakshmi came from the Sagara, right? So they are all Ayonijas. So even they got confused. So it says, Kim, what is karma? Kim akarma, what is inaction? Iti kavaya, wise people, api atra mohita, deluded, confused. Tat te karmam pravakshami. Hence today, I will tell you about karma. Wait. Yat jnatva. When you know about this, moksha se ashubhat. You will be able to at least steer your life into moksha, realization. Ashubha will not happen. You'll try to avoid Ashubha. See, why Bhagavan is addressing Krishna, Arjuna like this? Because Arjuna said, no, killing is wrong. Or even if they're atatais, the sinner of the sinners, killing them is wrong, he said, right? So, Lord is telling him, look, it is not really Ashubha. There are some duties and non-duties to do. So then Lord explains this with a rhetoric and further explanation. Say, Karmana hi api bodhavim. Definitely, I will tell you what is karma, like recommended set of actions. Okay, like yesterday, Didi's question was more towards Swadharma. It is similar. Swadharma is my own karma. The karma is more broader. Kshatriya karma, Brahma karma, Brahmana karma, something like that. But Swadharma is also related to karma in a smaller sense, microcosmic, macrocosmic. Karma is macrocosmic, and Swadharma is microcosmic. It's the same thing. Karmana hi api bodhavyam. I'll tell you what has to be known by your buddhi. Will be understood by your buddhi. Bodhavyam cha vikarmana. Vikarmana is wrong actions. Akarmana, a state of inaction. Lord used this word akarmana in the second chapter to signify laziness. But here he is using it to signify the state of non-becoming, non-doer, a jnani state. So the word he uses is the same. Lord is saying, I will tell you what is akarmana, inaction here. Here it is not laziness, it is higher action or actionlessness, you could say. Bodhavyam, akarmanascha bodhavyam, gahana, very deep, profound, karmana gatihi. Action, the gati, the movement, gati, path. So this is why it's very difficult to understand. So when you go and meet God, which you will, so you can talk to the light, right? At death, you will meet the light. If you're conscious, you can meet the light. Otherwise, you may not meet. You may meet the pitras, like our ancestors, or you may meet Swaraloka beings. But definitely, if you're a sadhaka, you really love God, you will meet God. In the light will speak to you. Then you will say, Father, what you have to say is, Lord, it was so tough. You only said Gahana Karmana Guti. I made mistakes. Can you forgive me? Instantly, he'll say yes. That's a trick. That's a trick, and you should know this trick. So at that moment, if you say surrender, but the thing is, many people will say, no, no, I will not ask. Father, ask. Free. And those are cosmic levels. In that, billions of galaxies are there. We don't know where Hitler is gone now. He'll definitely be somewhere there, right? So, who have killed like 60 million people? He massacred. He was the cause, right? Not an easy task to do, even as an evil person. So, if he's consigned like that, even if he surrenders, it seems God will send 4 angels and say, bring him up, send him back to some central sphere, which is easier, which has got light. Like Earth is a central sphere, the billions of planets, central spheres. Let us see if he will try to reform himself. Apparently, these Diobandis, the radical Islamists, apparently, some of the saints say they are the ones who've been given the second chance. But because of inveterate habit of murdering, butchering, killing, and being violent, they continue the same after coming. Again, consigned. Again, they surrender there. Again. So, like that, it happens. This is true. So, Lord's that's why Karmana Gati is very Gahana, very deep, very deep. Okay, even wise are not aware. Then Lord says, Karmani akarma ya pashyat. Now, this is very interesting. In karma, you see inaction. You're doing physical work, but there is inaction. Ya pashyat. If you can see this, akarmani, there's inaction happening, like a person is sitting lazily, quietly, not doing anything. Cha karma ya pashyat. You can see intense activity happening. Sabuddhiman Manusheshu. He is a wise person who can see these distinctions. Manusheshu, amongst the men, Manusheshu, Yukta Kritsna Karma Krit. He is the united person. Only he can see these things happening. Kritsna Karma Krit means he's also finished all his actions. He's free. This is we know now that it's a description of a free being. Let us take Paramahansa Yogananda as an example. Ubiquitous, we know a lot about him. Most of people here, many people, at least 80% of this group, do know so much about Paramahansa Yogananda. So he worked very hard, like a Swami Vivekananda. So this is an explanation of his state. Both Swami Vivekananda as Paramahansa Yogananda were very active till the end. But they wouldn't have carried any karma from here. Krishna also, for example, he was also very active. But at the end, he says, I didn't do anything. Next shloka will explain this shloka better. Next two shlokas. It's very interesting. So, Krishna was very busy. He was stealing butter, he was killing people, he was wooing girls, he was getting much married, he was producing children, he was doing everything a king does. He was also a wise man, he was full of buddhi, he was a charming person. He was very handsome to look at. He's like a hero, present day hero. Apparently, Krishna was till the age of 120 when he passed away. He looked like he was 20, 25, never aged. The Pandavas aged, but he didn't age. He had the same black, eyes. His skin was supple, very full of youth and everything. He was very handsome. That's why he gets married. No, Satyabhama is 24, 26 years younger to him. Did you know that? When does she get married to Satyabhama? One of the she was very powerful, I believe, as a wife also. She was an old man. It's like double her age. He was like 50, 60, whatever. So 55. So she would keep scolding him, what are you doing this? Krishna would smile and yes, yes, like that. So very beautiful if you read the 11th canto of Krishna's life story. So Lord is saying here, karmani akarma ya pashyet. Oh, time. So this is typically the way in which these great souls act. They are doing everything. Why has this happened? Because they are kritsna karma krit, meaning the soul and the body don't mingle inside the body at all. They know they are distinctly different. So that person acts only from the soul consciousness, not from prakriti consciousness. Inside they are different. They know that. They know Prakriti is different, Guna is different. They can identify, explain, and show you what a Guna is. Paramahansa Yogananda is to touch a person and on his kutastha, and the person is to go into samadhi. He would see the light in his heart or in his kutastha. So that power, they were kritsna karma krit. So whatever they did, nothing attached to them. Name karma limpanti. Yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpa vartitaha jnanagni dagda karmanam tamahu panditam Buddha. He's a pandita. Ahu, know him. Buddha, he's a wise person who has destroyed all his karmas using Jnana Agni, wise wisdom, Jnana Agni, the fire of wisdom. So, what does the fire of wisdom do? It consumes all base propensities, Lord says. So, what does it consume? Sarva Samaramba, which is Sarva Samaramba is all plannings and undertakings, which is Kama Sankalpa Varjita, which is filled with Kama, personal pleasure seeking. I want a big house, massive palatial bungalow. I want 20 cars. I want this thing. That these are Kama Sankalpa Varjita. So, as the Lord is saying, through the divine knowledge, the fire of the divine knowledge, that person becomes free by removing all the pleasure seeking, lower, and attached actions. Then Lord says, Tyaktva karma phala sanga nitya tripto nirashraya. This person who's a jnani, Buddha, the wise person, it is a continuation of the previous two shlokas only, explaining. He gives up tyaktva karma phala, all the karma phala sangam, asangam. He is not attached to any of the results. What happens doesn't matter. Krishna is always prahasanniva bharat, always smiling. Middle of the forest, he's smiling. Somebody is dying, he's smiling. Cutting off Shishupala's head, he's smiling. Eating butter, he's smiling. Everywhere is smiling. Very strange, rahasyamai smile, right? That's how he's explained. He was actually like that. He's been described by people who have seen him, and apparently people who have actually seen him, like Meera, she also talks about him like that. Kabir talks about Krishna like that. That otherworldly, rahasyamai smile, prahasanniva bharata. So he is like that. So he's detached from everything. Nitya Tripta, always content within. Nirashra is not dependent on anything. He's not dependent on Rukmini's love or Satyabhama's love. Today, if we say, okay, my husband's not there, my love of my life is not there, we all attached people, what do? We start crying. No, that happened, this happened. My husband left me. My husband's that, this, my wife is that. No. Nirashraya. That's how we have to rise to. Nirashraya. Karmani abhipravruto, but he is very physically active, mentally active. Abhipravrutopi is more active than the regular person. That's why you see great saints, they produce huge bodies of work in limited time. The amount of work Vivekananda did, Yogananda did, or Krishna did in their limited time. Jesus did so much that it is 30 years. 30 years Vivekananda, 58, 59 years Yogananda. Okay, Krishna 120, even that is less in those times. People used to live very, ahead. People had a huge Shantanu and Bhishma lived more than 200 years. So, abhipravritopi, intense activity, na eva kinchit karoti sa. They don't do anything still, even though they're abhipravritopi. Why? Nirashi, they have no expectation. Yata chitta atma. This is a very interesting statement. His chitta is connected to the Atma. Our chitta is connected to the Aham. Atma is behind the chitta. Aham is in front of the chitta. Chitta is forward, outward looking. That's why all our sensory organs are outside. Yata chitta Atma. Controlled with the chitta is controlled with the Atma. Tyaktva sarva parigraha. Parigraha, greed, mind. Tyaktva, everything is gone. Shariram kevalam karma. Whatever the body is doing, he will let it do. The soul will let it do. Kurvan na apnoti kilbisham. Whatever you do in this state, when your chitta and your atma connected, whatever you do from the body, you kill somebody, you do whatever you want, no karma. That's what Paramahansa Yogananda says. For a yogi, for a jnani who's realized himself, who's attained that state, anything he does, good, bad, evil, is like writing on water. Patanjali says, Karma, Shukla, Krishna, Trividamitharesham. Meaning he says, the karma of a yogi is Ashukla, a Krishna. It is not white, it is not even dark. Interesting, right? But for others, it is either black karma or very white karma or in between, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas karma. But for a yogi, there's no color of the karma only. So maybe there is some kind of, that's why it says Varna and color, there may be some kind of fundamental colors also. Lord says, Yadricha, it comes on its own. What Krishna is doing is coming by itself, from whom Brahma is acting through him. So we can't describe the state until we attain the state. And Guruji says, and even after attaining the state, you can't describe it. That's the thing, because words are not enough. Yadricha labha santushtaha, the gain and the contentment, dvandva duality, atitaha, it is beyond the duality. Vimatsaraha, these people have no envy, they don't have any expectations, envy, or anything. But they will show as if they have everything. They are not showing. Brahma is showing through the body. And in fact, Brahma wants to act like that in your body and my body also. We don't allow. We create the ego and don't allow him. So, Vimatsaraha, Sama Siddho Asiddho. They're always content whether it is Siddhi or Asiddhi, failure or success. Chakritva api nani bhatyate. Whatever they do, they are not baddha. They are not bound. Nani bhatyate. Okay. So this is a very interesting set of shlokas. You can ponder over it when you read it the 10th time, 15th time. Continue reading till the last breath, and the last breath will be with you only. It's a beautiful set of slokas, and that's what we want to attain, right? Otherwise, there's only anxiety and discontent in this world. Well, then. So now, with that, we close. Let's take a moment of silence. Visualize the Guru, the path giver, the great Lord Krishna, the great Father, the great Master Brahman, who manifests through so many avatars. And one of the greatest Uchchakoti avatar was Bhagwan Krishna, bowing down at his feet. We'll close. Om Guru Narayaneti Samarpayami. Okay, I might have been very fast because we have 700 shlokas, right? So whoever wants to, do you want to, before Didi starts chanting, we'll do this 22 shlokas. We'll do about 20 shlokas in a day. That's the target. So we can finish by another couple